I am Kitten McCreary Novice.
And I am Pete Novice. We're the Naked Critics, and this week we're going to be talking about Stardust from 2007, based on the Neil Gaiman book of the same name. I know I saw this in the theater when it came out by myself. I don't think I had many friends in 2007. And then we recently rewatched it on Netflix, and I giggled the entire way through this movie.
This should be fun. It only took us 3 episodes in. The Naked Critics disagree.
No!
I don't like this movie. I have a very good reason why I don't like this movie.
For me, I can accept the differences, and I can say, this is a good book, and this is a good movie.
It's a really wonderful book in which we have interesting characters and a beautiful, lush landscape, and I love it. And then I can look at the movie and say, this is a trite piece of fantasy adventure crap made for children.
So
even on its own merits, I don't think it's a good movie.
You think a movie made for children can't be a good movie?
I think many movies made for children can be good movies. I do not think this is one of them.
Wow. Wow. This is going to be rough. I don't even know where to go from here. I feel like I'll just close my screen and...
And we're done. Maybe you can try to sway me. I read the book. I loved the book. And when I saw the movie, I was harshly disappointed. But even taking the book out of the equation, this is a movie that pushes so hard to have these action moments. And it completely neglects any sort of sense of genuine character development. And so the characters that you do have are unlikable or dismissible.
One of the things that I love about the movie is that apart from the final overly epic fight scene, every time somebody is about to have some, medieval fantasy fairy tale action, something occurs to completely deflate whatever they're attempting to do. And, all of these people are very down-to-earth and clumsy and do stupid things and are unaware. The only character I really don't like is Tristan, the hero. But I think that's an inherent problem with protagonists in these sort of coming-of-age movies, is that they're sort of generic and neutral because it's supposed to be oh, I can see myself in the role of the lead character. All of the supporting actors are far more interesting than he is. So for me, this movie falls into the same category as The Princess Bride, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Alice in Wonderland. There are these movies that exist in a sort of slightly off version of the world that's familiar to us. You can walk into this world of magic and wonder. It's a world that has that cartoony amplification about it, but all of the people existing within it have very legitimate human problems. No matter how good-hearted or how nefarious they are, all of these people screw up on a regular basis. We can see ourselves not just in the good parts of these characters, but in the clumsy, selfish, inattentive parts as well.
I, too, am a fan of stories where our heroes and villains are flawed. But in this case, I just feel like it was all so dull. Not enough was done to play the magic of this universe. Our flying airship with our transvestite pirate, for a while, that was my favorite part. I liked those interactions. I liked those stories, of him telling them, this is who I am, and this is the facade that I hide behind. And then we have a super boring montage of dancing and playing piano and sword fights. And I sort of loved the moment when, of course, it's revealed that his crew knew all along that this is what he was. But it was predictable.
As you say, the boring little montage is, for me, a beautiful part of the movie, because he is in this unique place where he can both teach Tristan how to grow into an adult and take on adult responsibilities, and he can teach Yvain how to grow into an adult and relate to other people as equals, to not just be vain. Who named her? Who named her? Come on, Neil. And he is a surrogate parrot to both of them. I think really the chief thing that I like about this movie is the sort of really dark humor that doesn't pull punches in the way that a children's movie often would.
I appreciate that as well. And I feel like those are, those little moments where I'm like, okay, it is a children's movie, although it is not a movie made for children specifically. There was a far more interesting universe to be explored, which did not get explored.
This is just a version of England that has magic, not a version of England that is a D&D game.
All right, so it's just another town, and it's just another field, and there are just more people.
I think that's what I like about it, is that it's not so different and unrelatable.
Okay, if you're going to give me a fantasy adventure movie, but you aren't going to give me a, solid fantasy setting, at least give me interesting, motivating characters to follow. You have these two teenagers whining at each other for a while, and I can watch pretty much anything to see that.
Have you not got it into your thick head yet? I'm not walking anywhere.
Fine. Sit in a crater. I've had enough of you anyway.
And then we make it almost an hour into the movie before anything ever actually happens again. So the unicorn shows up with his magic blue lightning horn and blasts the chain away. So now we're a good halfway into our movie, and nothing has happened. And really, how'd they get out of the crater in the first place? And Claire Danes and her most poorly acted limp in history. I mean, you get absolutely nothing happening until they get to the cottage.
Oh, the inn.
Yes. And, so then you have, the next to last brother dies, and the unicorn dies, and the witch gets angry, and the boy uses the last bit of the candle. Okay, nice little action moment there, and now they're in the clouds, and then they, get to the ship with the pirates, and those were some nice moments. Now we just have two teenagers who have decided they're in love. Which again is something I don't care about. Because I don't care about the teenagers. Do you know what stars do? They shine! Shut up. I kind of care about the witch. I kind of care about the last remaining brother because both of them have something that's invested here. Fantastic. So my twit of a teenage boy is going to take the annoying girl back to meet the obnoxious girl so he can end up with one of them. As soon as he is no longer a field mouse and does the whole outing of I know that you said you love me because I love you too, and that's great. But what's the very first thing they do? They have sex.
Hey guys, come on, you gotta come up and see this.
Way to go, teenagers. You've been together for less than a week, despite the fact that all these things have happened.
See, I feel like the point of the movie was that encountering this realm of magical possibility was not the horrendous disaster that everyone in England had always feared that it would be.
Yeah.
I will say, I will agree with you that the two lead characters are the least interesting ones in the movie. But the movie hits a real low point when the closing credits start.
You light the skies up above me.
And there's a pop song about ooh, we could just wish on a star or something.
Yeah, you and me, we can ride on a star.
And it's funny because when I was watching the movie and then that came on again, I was like, yep, I feel like this song sums up the movie.
Because it's the only piece of contemporary music in the whole thing. The rest of it is all orchestral compositions, very suited to the mood of the story they're telling.
The movie does have a fantastic score.
I love that that's the one thing you're willing to grant this movie. Come on, Mark Strong as Septimus? Yes.
I appreciated his sort of eye rolling, like, not worth it.
If a situation looks too risky, he will walk away and try tomorrow.
I felt like that actually made kind of a nice counterpoint to the witch. She knew that she only had a limited amount of magic.
Be careful how much magic you use, sister. It's beginning to show.
And yet...
she literally burned her life away.
She started doing things because they were convenient. And I was really on board with that for a while. I felt like that really meant something until that final scene. You're getting into this, like, you know, final fight where you have the witch who is now so old and decrepit from using her magic that she can barely move, but then suddenly she's this...
This is one of my big issues that I had with this movie. Is that in the book, you know, she's depleting her magic. And by the end of the book, she has drained up every resource that she has, and she is incapable of doing anything to stop them. But in the movie, she's depleting her magic, then suddenly she's making her entire castle explode, and she's animating corpses and doing voodoo and, like, screaming and running and leaping at things. Like, these are not the rules that you established for this character. And, important note, for people who have seen the movie but not read the book, the whole sequence with the lightning pirates is not in the book.
True.
And the book ends about 25 minutes before the movie does. The book is about them growing up to be sort of mature and responsible, and in the course of that, all of their enemies basically defeat themselves.
Yep.
It's a very quiet ending. It's a very British ending.
I do love the book. Even as an adult.
I wonder if a lot of the difference in our perspectives comes from the fact that this movie was probably my first introduction to Neil Gaiman.
And I've been familiar with Neil Gaiman's work, you know, for decades. Even if I had never specifically read Stardust, the book, I would have been disappointed in Stardust, the movie. There's so many fantasy movies out there that basically tell the same story, you know, that are done in better ways. Stardust, the movie, just felt very watered down.
How would you compare this to Princess Bride?
I love The Princess Bride. Having the story within the story it's just a little, like, meta-magical twist that is appealing to me. The characters in Princess Bride are more interesting. They're more three-dimensional. Even within being stereotypes of princesses and swashbucklers and everything else.
Do you think maybe it's because the romantic leads in Princess Bride are adults?
I think that might be part of it. And the fight sequences in that were better.
Fight that I did really like in Stardust was the reanimated Septimus corpse fight.
And that made me giggle.
So that to me is what Stardust is for. It's a movie to giggle for like 2 hours.
I didn't giggle for 2 hours. I giggled at the fighting corpse because corpses are awesome. Because you want to know what corpses don't do? Whine.
Oh, right.
Get hooked on literature, kids. Find better fantasy movies to watch. Hell, go watch the animated version of The Hobbits from PBS from sometime in the 1970s. That's better than this.
I really liked this movie. I think especially for kids, as you say, who don't read, I think this is a nice introduction to a really fantastic author. I didn't go into this movie expecting other than, like, a silly romp, and I got a lot of extra sort of, like, self-deprecating humor that I really appreciated. The dead brother ghosts who are able to, like, commentate on everything that's going on and complain about the ineptitude of their living brothers. It's those little elements that go along a very stock fantasy story that make this a wonderful movie for me. You want to rate this movie? How many reanimated corpse swordsmen will you give this movie?
I give this 1.5 reanimated corpse swordsmen.
Oh, that hurts my soul.
And I'm only giving it the half because of the corpse swordsman and the dead brothers.
I give this movie a 4 reanimated corpse swordsmen out of 5. 2 3/4 reanimated corpse swordsmen for Stardust. I gotta say, that is I think that rating surprises both of us.
I think it
in
does.
different ways. You know, it's a good thing after we record this, we can shut our computers off and take a minute to, like, think about why we love each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this installment of The Naked Critics.
I don't even have a witty quip to end with. See you next time.
And remember, if you're ever feeling down or anything like that, what does a star do? It whines.